This is Food for Thought with Deborah Walker. Hi everyone and welcome to Food for Thought this week. I have the lovely Danny Scahill and we've just been chatting and I found out he's from Liverpool, so I'm really, really pleased because of course I spent part of my time there and I studied there. Hi Danny, how are you today?
I'm very well, thanks. Thanks for having me on the show, Deb.
You're very welcome, and it's nice to hear Liverpudlian dulcet tones there.
Yeah, I believe you used to live there quite some time ago now, wasn't it?
I did indeed. We were just chatting about where we lived, and I lived in Egberth and the Dingle and Toxteth, so the typical student areas where we all tend to congregate.
Yeah, they are, aren't they? Yeah. They still are today, I think, those areas.
Oh, okay. I didn't realise, actually, because it's been a long time since I've been back. When was the last time you went back?
About 8 months ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
And tell my audience a little bit about yourself, about your background.
Yeah. Well, today I'm a chiropractor and also a peak performance coach. But it didn't all start that way. So if I, like a lot of practitioners you've probably had on calls before, they tend to get into things, at least in my experience, get into the profession there and through injury and through being helped by that said practitioner. And mine wasn't that different in that respect. So if I go back to when I was, I always forget whether it was 14 or 15. As you know, being from Liverpool, football is a bit of a religion. In fact, it is a religion.
It is.
So I love football. I still do today. And in those days, I used to play football 2-3 times a day, every single day. And I also used to do a lot of martial arts. I used to do karate and kickboxing. So I was very, very fit and very, very healthy. And I had some competitions coming up. And I remember saying to me, Dad, I want some weights. He says, "You're too young, Daniel, you'll get injured." I said, "Dad, it's my birthday, can you just get me the weights? I need to get bigger for these competitions," because some of the guys I was going up against were a lot bigger than me. Even today, I'm only like 5'7", 5'8", but in those days when I was about 14, 15, I was absolutely tiny. So it turned out to be a mistake to get weight because I injured myself. And overnight, pretty much, I went from exercising a lot to exercise and not at all. And I learned a lot in those days, not necessarily at the time, but later on, how important exercise was to mental health. Because at that time, I was exercising loads and I didn't know what stress was. At that same time, running along together was my GCSEs, doing lots of coursework, having lots of exams coming up, and everything got on top of me. I didn't realise at that time it was the exercise in the past that helped me just handle things really, really well and really easily. So I got really, really depressed, and not just a little bit sad, like clinically depressed. So I learnt a lot in those days about the connection between mental health and moving your body, and how when you don't, you can lose your health pretty quick. And so that led me to initially to see a physiotherapist. Luckily at that time my mum had bupa care for the whole family, and luckily I say, because it cost an absolute fortune but did nothing for me personally. And my mum says to me, "Why don't you go and see this osteopath I've been seeing? He's really good." And I forget to say at the beginning of this story, I always wanted to be a lawyer from a very, very young age. Very, very different to what I do now, I know. So I went to see this osteopath, really got great results from the osteopath. It really started to help my injuries that I had from the injuries playing football and lifting weights. And I started to get great results, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to cancel my application to do law in university, and I'm going to go and be an osteopath. And I started osteopathic training, did 3.5 years of that. My college closed down, and I was, as you can imagine, a little bit upset at that point. And the osteopath mentor of mine, he says to me, "Dan, why don't you become a chiropractor?" And had you been in osteopathic college with me, you would understand that throughout the whole osteopathic college courses, the tutors took the piss out of chiropractors and they took the piss out of physios. So I was really surprised when Phil, my osteopath mentor, says become a chiropractor. And I was like, are you sure, Phil? What are you feeling all right? And he was like, Dan, I see loads of chiropractors. They're great professionals. Look into it. So then I applied to Chiropractic College, which is a university just outside Cardiff, Glamorgan Uni. Did 5 of that. And so I actually did, in the end, 8 or 9 years training before I was practicing as a doctor of chiropractic. And I often joke when I do speaking gigs and seminars to patients and stuff, I'm a chiroprath or an osteopractor, because I've taken the best bits out of both and molded it. And today I mentioned I do a lot of coaching as well. Throughout chiropractic, I realized it wasn't always sufficient to just work on the body, on the physical. There was often a lot more to it than that, and I was always very, very intrigued by the human mind. Essentially, that's what led me down towards NLP, and I was fascinated by the changes that you could make just by changing the language and changing a few other things. It really fascinated me, and that's what led me down the route that I'm going now, which is essentially working with business owners, entrepreneurs, and professionals to transform their energy and performance. And that's a very, very brief history as to what got me where I am today, Deb.
Have you created a new profession then, do you think, being a chiropath?
Yeah, I guess possibly, yeah. So I've definitely taken the best bits out of both, I would say. Yeah, it's a question I often get, and because I've been on both sides of the fence, if you like, I would say I'm pretty well qualified to answer that question without bias. So a chiropractor, essentially, we are a doctor of the nervous system. The nervous system controls absolutely everything in your body, and those messages run from your brain down the spinal cord to every organ and every tissue in the body. What we're looking for is any interference in the nervous system with any misaligned vertebrae. That cuts off the power or reduces the power between the brain and the body, and therefore can lead to health problems. That's the whole philosophy of chiropractic. From what I remember in osteopathic college,
which was much longer ago,
which was a long, long time ago now, that was more about improving the communication throughout the body via the blood system and the communication between all the different organs and tissues. Now, in my mind, and in all the textbooks of neuroanatomy and physiology, the nervous system controls the blood flow. So it's an interesting philosophy that they've got. The goal, obviously, for both of us is to help people to start to heal their bodies themselves, because it's not us that heal people, is it? You know, people often say to me, "Can you fix me, doc? Can you heal me?" And I like, "No." And they say, "What do you mean, no?" I said, "I'm not doing any of the healing. What am I paying you for? You're supposed to fix me." I was like, "That's not how it works." What we do is remove the nerve interference, turn the power back on, and your body will do the rest. And they say, "Oh." Then a light bulb moment happens in a lot of cases. And they say, "Okay, so it's me doing the healing." And I say, "Yeah, it's you doing the healing. I'm facilitating something. I'm giving your body a little bit of a nudge. Then turn back on what we call innate intelligence, and your body does the rest." If you give your body the tools it needs, it's going to give you what you want, essentially. And another big distinction, really, between osteopaths and chiropractors is chiropractors, we did 5 years of radiology and radiography as well. Osteopathic college, from my memory, there was about a few hours of radiology and radiography. That's a huge subject in itself. And since I've been practicing as a chiropractor, I've seen enough on X-ray to know that we really need to be X-raying more people, to show the full history of a person.
That's interesting. I've not heard that at all.
About x-raying, or
Yeah, about the fact that you feel it's more important to be doing more x-rays with people, because of course from my perspective I would have thought it was, having more x-rays was not a good thing due to the radiation aspect of it on the body.
well, not necessarily that we need to be x-raying people more and more. What I meant by that was x-raying as opposed to not x-raying has shown me more benefits in spotting things early on as opposed to not x-raying and potentially missing things.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Now, the whole communication aspect that you were talking about there is being done on a multiples of levels, isn't it then? So, you're talking about the body speaking to itself and you supporting it. And that's what's incredibly important here, isn't it? The fact that the body can actually communicate and will communicate if you actually support it in the right way.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I always say to both my coaching clients and patients, you need to listen to your body. Your body tells you what it needs. And instinctively, it just knows what it needs, doesn't it?
Yeah. And that comes back to that innate intelligence that you're actually talking about, isn't it?
Oh, completely. Yeah, innate intelligence, like the power that made the body heals the body, is something I always heard in chiropractic. And you know what? One of the simplest ways of describing what we do as chiropractors, I heard a guy say from stage probably about 10 years ago now. He says, I always, in the beginning, tried to make a real technical description of what we do, and it just confused the hell out of people. So this is what we do. He says, I am a power turner honor. And that is like totally to the point, uber simple, so anybody could get it. And it just explains everything that we do.
I just explain what I do in regards to, all I do is I help your body to do its job properly. That's it. So that it can heal itself and it can feel really good.
It's super simple, isn't it? And that's the simple's best, isn't it?
It is indeed.
When we're growing up, we always constantly heard, possibly not enough, but we often heard, keep it simple.
Yeah.
What's that acronym? KISS, keep it simple, stupid, isn't it? It's really, it is about keep it simple in all aspects of your life, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I found it really interesting that you're talking about exercise and mental health. There's more and more research coming out about that now, isn't there, in regards to how the link is directly there. Particularly, I read something yesterday in regards to it being linked directly with dementia and the reduction in dementia, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, there's loads of fantastic research coming out. I guess in the last 10 years, there's been more and more of it, hasn't there? Yeah. There's loads of positive impacts of exercise, which people that exercise regularly will instinctively know the benefits of it. Because when you don't exercise, you start to feel lethargic, you're less relaxed, lots of other things going on. But on a bigger scale, like you mentioned, dementia, there's another quite a bit of research I've been reading as well on cholesterol. Mm-hmm. Regular exercise actually reduces the LDLs, what they call the bad cholesterol, and it increases the HDLs, the good cholesterol. So, there's so many important reasons for exercising, and it improves brain function as well, which would obviously link into the preventing or sort of helping in a positive way. Things like dementia as well. It all comes down to the stress response, really, doesn't it? Because exercise is certainly going to, turn down that stress response, which is, obviously very important to health.
And the thing is now is that more and more people are highly stressed and they're sitting nearly all day. I don't know about your clients, but mine tend to sit all day at a desk or eat in front of their computer or eat on the run, and in effect never really do any true exercise, or if they are doing it, they're actually doing it because they've got to go to the gym and it's another stressor in their life. So it doesn't end up being movement that's enjoyable, it's movement that's then creating even more stress on the body and more trauma on the body.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I always say sitting is for your spine what sugar is for your teeth. everyone knows, don't they, that sugar's really bad for our teeth. So most people haven't heard that saying about the spine. It really is really bad for us. And if we look at it really and think about it, people are generally sitting down for somewhere between 60 to 70% of their lives, and some people upwards of that. And that is absolutely crazy, isn't it? Because the sitting is one of the reasons why our body wears out quicker than it should do. And when your body's wearing out quicker than it should do, I'm sure it's quite easy to see from that you're not going to perform as well as you would like to if your body's wearing out quicker than it should do. So if you have a look at what most people are tending to do, obviously I'm generalizing here, but people get up, they drive to work, they might drive for an hour, they get into work. If they're working in an office-based job, then they are spending 8 to 10 hours a day or more sat in front of a computer. And if you've ever worked in an office, like I did loads of office jobs during and before university, you can't sit up straight all day. It's just not possible. You'd end up slumped in front of the computer, don't you, and slouching. And then you drive home from work, whether that be an hour or two, or commute on the bus or the train. You sit in front of your TV, and then if you're old school, you might go to the dining room table and eat your dinner. A lot of people don't do that anymore, do they? That's been a bit lost. Yeah. And then you get off, go and sit back in front of the TV or sit in front of your computer, and it goes on and on and on. We're just sitting down way too much, and it's, when you're sat down, sedentary, that massively reduces your energy levels. You've probably experienced that before, haven't you? When you've been on a day when you haven't been moving a lot, you tend to be a lot more tired than you should be.
And why is that, Danny? Can you explain that to me? Because interestingly enough, yesterday I spent the whole day actually reading research and doing cases. So literally my whole day was sat in front of the computer. And last night I was absolutely shattered. Why is that the case with the movement side of things?
That's a really good question, and I'll explain it in this way. If you imagine you've got the bones in your spine, in the facet joints, the joints that open and close at the back of each spinal segment, let's say, there's a lot of different sensors. There's vibration, movement, temperature sensors, a lot of different sensors and nerve endings. When our bodies are moving, when we're getting the right amount of exercise and we're just generally moving as opposed to not, a lot of these sensors are firing up, and they fire energy and nerve energy up to the brain. Movement is an essential nutrient to the body. When we don't move, we're malnourished in a sense of movement. Okay, so when we're moving, all this energy is getting fired up to the brain. It's powering the body. Hence, when we move, we feel more energetic. But when we are sedentary, sat down in front of a PC or whatever it is we're doing, we're not moving, none of these nerve endings and nerve energy is getting fired up to the brain, or certainly significantly less. Hence, at the end of a working day, or when we've been doing very little in terms of movement, we tend to be exhausted.
That's really fascinating. So effectively, it's not just about the movement, is it? It's the type of movement as well. Because I find that lots of people are going to the gym and using these machines. And actually, I know from using the machines years ago when I started doing gym work, that actually they're not really made for people of my height, or they weren't originally. And that can't help either by doing the wrong type of exercise for your body, surely. That's
correct, yeah. Yeah, when I give talks about exercise, I use the term innate exercise. In other words, what our bodies are supposed to be doing, what we used to do. And as you correctly said, the gyms aren't generally sort of types of exercise. They are using similar muscle groups, but they're not really the types of movements that our bodies used to do. In other words, what our ancestors used to do 10, 20,000 years ago. Their lives were very different to ours, weren't they?
Indeed. So my chiropractor will, when I see her, she kind of berates me. She really does. But that's Pat for you have to say. And I love her to bits. And she berates me for absolutely the right reason. But effectively, she's saying to me, why have you waited until actually you've had an injury? Why aren't you coming for a regular MOT? And I kind of think, yeah, that's what I tell my clients all the time. But is that really the case? Do I need to actually come regularly for an MOT to a chiropractor? Because I just kind of feel that you're there just to resolve my injury, and in this case, it was because I'd fallen over.
Without doubt, 100%, yes, you should be. These are the reasons. Okay, most people, when they go in to see a chiropractor, as you just alluded to, go and see them because they've got an ache or a pain or some sort of symptom, and that's fine. Most of us are in the Western world, so we go and see a doctor when we're sick or broken in some way. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
So
it's not the Chinese philosophy at all, where you kind of use your doctor as you go along for the MOTs, and effectively when you're ill, you don't pay him.
yeah, absolutely. I often say that when I do talks and whatnot. They've got to keep you well or they don't get paid. Wouldn't that be fantastic if that was brought across to the Western world?
Absolutely. I think it's a brilliant philosophy.
Yeah, unfortunately, if it was brought over to the Western world, the medical doctors wouldn't get paid, would they?
At all.
Unfortunately. When we look at the MOT, I think you generally refer to it as, don't you, when people should come in and get checked to make sure that they stay well.
Yeah.
Once people get out of that pain that they've walked through the door in, then we recommend maintenance or wellness checks to help prevent the problems coming back. And it is in most cases very much a paradigm shift is required, away from the I'm sick and broken, fix me, to I'm well, I want to stay well, help me keep well. So it is absolutely it's a very similar thing throughout, sort of with patients as well as coaching clients. You help them resolve that pain that they're in, get them to where they want to go to, and then the accountability to keep them on track. There's a definite parallel between the patients and the coaching clients in that they want some accountability to help them either stay well or stay them on track to achieve their goals.
It's interesting, the accountability perspective now and the coaching side of the work, because I'm seeing that's what I'm doing more and more. I actually have my clients report in almost every week in almost like a journal format, so that I can see that they're actually doing what they're doing and they're moving themselves forward, they're moving their own thinking forward and how they're progressing with their own health. So they're creating a larger awareness. And I found that by doing that, and I applied that quite quickly because I came from a coaching background in my own practice, I found by doing that I'm getting a far better success rate, because people are becoming more intuitive, using that innate intelligence far more, because suddenly they're starting to listen to themselves far more.
Oh yeah, 100%. There is a definite shift towards people wanting, which is fantastic, wanting to take more responsibility. I think there's a definite shift in consciousness between people moving away from fix me to I want to fix myself type thing, and that definitely lends itself to coaching. Because if we think about it, really, if people don't go to experts for coaching, where are they getting their coaching from? Well, I was thinking about it, and I was like, they're getting their coaching from TV, from magazines, from the mates down the pub. They're going to anywhere but experts. So, the coaching industry is really, really becoming a lot more mainstream, because people are realizing, hang on, this person could get me to where I want to go to much quicker, because they give me specific information rather than general information that I've previously been getting, or should I say misinformation that I've previously been getting from my friends, family, or from TV and magazines.
The thing is that for me, there's so much, huge amounts of information out there, and there's so many different philosophies that I know what the mainstream do. Let's just put the mainstream to one side. But even in our own arena, I see massive amounts of information. It can be completely overwhelming for people at times to know actually what to do and how to do it properly.
It's very true. It's like you look at one book, it tells you to do one thing. You look at another book, it tells you to do the complete opposite. So there is some what's the word I'm looking for? Due diligence to be done, I guess, when you meet a coach or when you choose a coach. And you know what? Because there is so many different styles and philosophies, you really need to work with who is a good match for you and your personality. Because, like you said, you speak to many, many different coaches. Each one will tell you something different. So you really, in my opinion, need to go with your gut instinct as well as everything else to make your decision. If you feel right with that person, then that person is most likely going to be right for you, in my opinion.
And the thing is that it is to come back to your own intuition about the individual that you're working with, isn't it? Because that there is a wealth of information out there, but it is shown that the actual practitioner that you work with, if you have a good relationship with them, it's that relationship that can create part of the good health picture, not just the actual approach, isn't it?
No doubt, yeah. Like all communication, really, or all good communication comes down to being able to have good rapport with the person you're speaking to, doesn't it? And you notice very quickly if you're out of rapport with somebody, don't you? So I guess really the giveaway would be if you have a chat with somebody about coaching or mentoring and there's no rapport, then it's probably not the right person to work with, I would say.
And I think that's a really important point, actually, for lots of people who are trying to find the right practitioner to work with. And I get a lot of people, I don't know about yourself, but I get a lot of people who've seen one person after another, and they'll say to me that they've been on this huge journey of trying to change their health, and actually they still haven't resolved what they're actually trying to do. In many respects, it's not about the practitioner themselves, it's actually about the individual and the journey that they're on, and the fact that each practitioner is taking them only part of the way, not the whole of the way. And this is where it needs to, you need to be intuitive about the people that you're working with on your journey and get the right people at the right time.
Yeah, oh, no doubt. And yeah, I have noticed that over the years, some people come in and they say, I've been all around the houses, I've been everywhere, and I've seen other chiropractors, I've seen physios, I've seen this, that, and the other, and that old adage, isn't it? When the student's ready, the teacher appears. Sometimes they just haven't found the right practitioner, the right coach, the right person for them, who might just give them one distinction to give them that, that clarity. Okay, that's what I needed. That's what I need to move forward. It is very much when the student's ready, the teacher will appear, I think.
I had an interesting thing happen this morning. I was as I was preparing for this, I'm sat in a different location than I normally do, and I looked up at all the books that are above me, and I just pulled out Shift Happens by Robert Holden, which was just kind of almost falling off, and I thought, that's really interesting. Nothing happens by accident. And I opened it up at a point and it said, "Fear is yesterday." I said, "Thank you very much, Robert." And
that's cool.
It was, yeah, absolutely. Really fascinating how, like you say, it's not just the teachers that arrive, but also it can be the books. Imagine everything is an indicator, isn't it? Nothing happens by accident in this world, does it?
Oh, so true. One of my best friends always used to say, "There's no mistakes, Danny." And I was like, do you know what, mate? That is so true. And that's equally as true. Like on just now, you were talking about people being on a journey, going from A to B to C to D. There's no mistakes. There's a reason why that's been happening.
And I'm just going to read out, actually, the second paragraph of this book, because it really did kind of strike a chord. Fear is the root of every illness, every pain and every problem. Look behind every stress, angst, anxiety, and you will find fear lurking there. At a certain level, there are no problems, only fear. There are no illnesses, only fear. There are no conflicts, only fear. And there is no devil, only fear. Heal the fear and you rediscover your freedom. I just thought, wow.
That's fantastic.
It's an amazing little book, I have to say. So the word that comes to mind, or the name that comes to mind, I have to say, that you remind me of, Danny, is Anthony Robbins. Are you the Anthony Robbins of the chiropractic or the chiropraph world?
Well, that would be an absolutely enormous compliment to be compared to Tony Robbins, as he's always been a huge inspiration to myself, and also, of course, indeed, millions, if not billions, of other people. He has inspired me over the years in that, the man's immense, I think is the word. And, he's a very big advocate of chiropractic himself, in that I can't remember whether he flies a chiropractor around with him, or he's got different chiropractors he sees in different states. So on some level, he's always got the whole chiropractic philosophy. And, as chiropractic is within me these days, has been for, not far off half my life now, my coaching philosophy is very, very much steeped in chiropractic philosophy. And like Tony, in his seminars, he covers those things, really, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He calls them different things, but it's all about eat well, move well, and think well.
Yeah.
When I haven't done his what's it called, UPF, Unleash, UPW, Unleash the Power Within, but that would certainly be right up my street for sure.
Are you going to create your own, do you think, Danny?
Oh, no doubt. Yeah. I mean, I thought my signature program's called Ultimate Performance Formula, so it was obviously a Freudian slip when I said UPF just now, because that's mine. Yeah, no doubt.
And tell us more about Ultimate Performance Formula then.
Yeah, it's very much about those three pillars, if you like. The eat well, move well, think well. So when somebody comes to see me, we have a brief chat to see if there's a good match, if I can help them. And if I can, then what we do is we go into the next step, which is a much more detailed, thorough consultation where I'll analyze what they do, how they move, how they eat, and how they think. Analyze what they're doing right, analyze what they're doing wrong, make some distinctions there for them, make some advice accordingly to what I find, and then from there, then we go into a coaching program with the accountability, which is generally every couple of weeks, and they get access to me via my forum and also email as well, generally as well. It's all about accountability, because it's one thing saying you want to do something, it's another thing actually doing it, isn't it?
It is interesting that we've come back to that accountability and the whole taking responsibility, and actually then having someone to be accountable to all the time to drive your own motivation. Do you think this is now a necessary in the role that we take?
I believe it is, yeah. Because if you think about it, like when I started out as a chiropractor, I was doing the chiropractic adjustments, and in some cases that would be enough for certain people, in that they'd get what they came for, and it was just something on a physical level. But I've found over the years more and more people need something more, whether that be they need some more specific advice on nutrition, or something about the mindset, whether they need to do some relaxation techniques or meditation. Whatever it is, I've always looked at it on a holistic perspective, in that we do need to eat well, move well, think well if we want to be truly healthy. So coaching is essential.
So where do people tend to fall down within those? Can you split them up into the eat well, the think well, and the move well? Where do people fall down within those different arenas most frequently?
I would say I could spend hours speaking about each one of them, but the eating well thing is a big thing in the Western world, because so many people eat so much crap, for want of a better word, in that it's a lot of really highly processed food. All the white pastas, the white rices, the cakes, the breads, the biscuits. It is shite. There's nothing good in any of those things. Do you know what I mean? So it's the eating well part, really, that people fall down on most, and obviously incorporated into that, because it's something we're putting in our mouths. What we drink as well. I find that you know, the vast majority of people, certainly in the Western world, are chronically dehydrated. Do you find that in your practice?
Absolutely. I'm really lucky. I have a machine that actually, can actually tell people the dehydration picture and how chronic it is. And, I can tell people, and I can educate my clients sometimes in regards to how, what actually makes a healthy cell and their bodies function properly. But by looking at the machine and looking at the results of the machine, I get very good, a very good success rate around hydration once they've seen what's going on and the impact it's having, because it has a complete impact across the body if you are dehydrated.
Oh, so much so, yeah. And one thing that it will affect massively is your energy levels and your performance.
Yeah.
You know, it's huge. Even just 5% dehydration can have a huge impact on energy levels, and ultimately that's going to lead to health problems, isn't it?
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. And when you look at the fact that the body will water ration as well accordingly to that, then it's going to start switching off or reducing the amount of water getting to specific functions within the body that it considers are less important. But that is where you start to see I call it the dashboard. Are you listening to the dashboard of your body? Because you start getting the lights on bit by bit, and it's the pain and it's the tiredness and it's the things that people tend to ignore the most, which are actually your first indicators, aren't they?
That's a great analogy, the dashboard of your body. Might have to borrow that one if that's okay.
You can go forth and use it, please.
Cool. Yeah, nice one. I will do, no doubt. Yeah, I mean, so many people have got, chronic dehydration problems. And, how many times I've said to people, patients and clients, how much water are you drinking? Oh, I drink plenty of water. Well, okay, how much is plenty? Well, probably about six cups a day. I was like, are you serious? So you're having about 1.5 liters a day maximum, and that's plenty. And what's the response that you tend to get when you ask people what's your water intake and whether they think it's good or bad?
Well, my response is nearly always, we just need to move it slightly in the right direction.
Yeah.
Get them bit by bit. Otherwise, it can be a bit of a shock, actually, introducing lots of water, can't it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you've got to do it gradually. I never suggested them to go from nothing to 3 to 4 liters a day. It's not achievable. You're setting yourself up for failure in that respect if you do that, aren't you? So it's just astounding how, again, people getting their coaching and their advice from TV and magazines, how people think that 2 liters of water a day is enough. And you're obviously still going to be dehydrated if you're having just 2 liters a day. Another thing that really astounds me, in fact, a patient said this about 2 weeks ago. He said, yeah, I drink plenty of water. I was like, okay, cool. So how much water did you have yesterday? He says, well, I had 4 coffees, 3 teas, and a couple of glasses of water. I was like, you need to increase start increasing the actual glasses and cups of water you have, and start to gently decrease those 4 teas and 4 coffees a day. Because obviously, as you know, that's going to take water out your blood, isn't it?
Well, the thing is the dietitians and the amongst us will actually say that any fluid is fine and include tea and coffee in that.
That's more and more misinformation out there, isn't it?
So it is really interesting. And on their actual website, they will say that those fluids are fine. And yet, why aren't they fine? Because you've said they remove water. How are they removing water? Just so that my audience know.
Well, they're what's called a diuretic, aren't they? They'll actually take water out of your blood. And as we've already sort of covered a few minutes ago, our body needs lots and lots of water. And when it is dehydrated, it's going to take away the water and the moisture from what it deems as less essential to survival. For example, it takes moisture and water away from the skin and takes it to focus on vital organs like the heart, the brain, and stuff like that. Incidentally, the brain should be 85 or around about 85% water. So if you reduce the amount of water that you're taking, it's obviously going to affect your brain as well. With regards to the coffee as well, there's so many other chemicals in it that are, very, very, very bad for you, which are going to have a negative impact on your body as well. Even decaffeinated, people say, oh, I'm drinking decaffeinated coffee, so that's obviously much better. It's actually got 2 or 3 chemicals in it that resemble caffeine. They're just not called caffeine, isn't it? So that's a bit of a con, that one.
It's like a whole vicious circle. People move from one thing to another and to another, don't they? And trying to find the right thing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is a minefield out there, isn't it? There's not a lack of information. There's just a lack of clarity. Yeah, I would say.
Absolutely. And it is a bit inundating and overwhelming for people. And it can be overwhelming for practitioners as well, can't it? Because, when people come in and they're doing specific diets that are all the rage at the moment, you're trying to find a way through it all the time.
No doubt. Yeah. I mean, we all need coaches and mentors. I have various coaches in different areas of my life, because, nobody knows everything. And I heard somebody say recently, every day is a learning day. The day we stop learning, in my opinion, is the day we're 6 foot under.
Yeah, I'm on my way there.
Yeah.
So talk to me. So you've talked about the food side of things.
Yeah.
Tell me about either how they think or how they move. So tell me about those 2 aspects of what you're doing.
Yeah.
Cool.
So the thinking well bit is, the positive mindset is something that has always been a philosophy that I've held close to my heart since I was like, I alluded to when I was 14 or 15 and got injured and became very, very depressed. The first personal development book I ever read was a book my mum bought for me when I was that age, actually. I've still got it now. It's Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway.
Susan Jeffers.
Yeah, great book, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's I've still got it now, and it's so old that the pages are yellow. You know how books go when they get a bit old. But it's still one of my favourite books now. And that is very, very much, whatever you believe you can do it. So mindset is absolute key to success in any area of your life. And how do people think? Well, there's a few different strategies and sort of practices that you can do. Meditation is a very, very powerful way of, let's say, mastering your mind. I've been doing various forms of meditation for around about 10 years. But for the last 4 years, I've been doing transcendental meditation. You probably remember that the Beatles went over to India to live with a guru. That's the guru who created transcendental meditation, Maharishi.
Yeah.
I think they probably mixed doing drugs with the meditation, which isn't what's recommended. So their experience was probably different to what most people's would be with the meditation. But the idea of the meditation is not necessarily to think of nothing. It's just to experience the ability to transcend under all of the noise. When they do the introductory talks that explain about it, they always use an analogy of you're in the ocean and there might be a storm on top of the ocean, so everything's really choppy and you're getting thrown about. And then the idea of the transcendental meditation, you transcend under the water, and just a couple of feet under the water it seems a lot calmer, doesn't it? And then you go another few feet down and it's massively calmer. But if you dive right down, if you transcend right to the bottom of that ocean, it is so peaceful. That's the best analogy I could use. It's not my analogy, but it's a great one, so I borrowed it there to explain about meditation. And it's so important in this day and age that we make time to relax. Most people are just really not relaxing enough. You mentioned before how people are just so stressed all the time and everyone's always on the go. Even if it's just, they recommend twice a day, 20 minutes meditation twice a day with 10 minutes rest at the end of each meditation. So it's half an hour twice a day, essentially. That is just, for some people, that could be the only time that they stop. And it's twice a day, they can just unwind and just, we call it in TM, unstressing, just de-stressing, letting go of it. And another thing that I've experienced over the years to master your mind, if you like to be able to think well, is focus on solutions, not problems. It's a real key distinction, isn't it? We've all met people before in our lives. Well, two types of people. People who get stuff done and they're positive and they're uplifting, or people that complain and moan all the time. You know, which one do you prefer to be around, Deb?
Oh, those inspiring people who just seem to be motivated to change things around them. It's just energizing, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, one walks into a room and lights up the room. The other one is an energy vampire and just takes away all the energy and turns the lights off on the way out as well, don't they?
Absolutely. You just feel drained by them, unfortunately, and very negative as well. All of a sudden, it's kind of dampened the way you feel.
Totally. I mean, somebody's personality or the way somebody is, it's very infectious. So another way of being able to continually think well is to surround yourself with good people, people that uplift and inspire, as you just mentioned.
Yeah, yeah. And now, and then, you know, the other arena is how they move. So just cover that as well for us. Yeah.
So we always, when I'm working with coaching clients and also patients, we've got to start with where they're at. I'm not going to say to somebody who's never been out for a run, right, get training, you're going to be running a marathon in 3 months. It's all about start off where they're at. If they've never walked a day in their life, which most people obviously have, but, you know, if they've hardly ever done much walking or running or anything like that, you start off a little bit, little at a time. In other words, they might walk for, I don't know, 200 meters, and then over the course of a week, they might walk 250 meters, and they just increase something, whatever it is that they're doing, gradually over time, so that then their results compound. Which reminds me of a great book I read not so long ago called The Compound Effect. It's a fantastic book by Darren Hardy. I definitely recommend that to the listeners. Awesome book. So yeah, we start off a little bit at a time and we gently increase it. Now, let's get something clear for those people that say, I hate running, I hate going to the gym. It's not about specifically you've got to go out running, you've got to go out to the gym. I know a lot of people hate it. That's why January next month, all the gyms will be rubbing their hands together because loads of new people will join the gym, but a lot of those people will have stopped going before the end of the month. Yet the monthly direct debit's going to continue to go out for the next 6 to 12 months. So find something that you love doing. If that's walking the dog, going to do some ballroom dancing, or going to a dancing class, or whatever it is. Find something that you love doing, otherwise you will not continue to do it. Exercise, like the eating well and the thinking well, needs to become a lifestyle choice. It's not something that you do to become fit and to look good on the beach, although they're a positive benefit that you get from that. It's something that needs to be an absolute lifestyle choice. It's part of your life. It's not something that you have to do. It's something that you do because it's a lifestyle choice, and it just becomes second nature. So I guess the key distinction is find something that you love doing and you will continue doing it with regards to exercise.
And that's the thing, isn't it, behind everything in many respects, because, I'll hear people and they will have been placed on diets and and they'll call it a regime. Their language gives it away. And, they've started doing exercise and they call that a regime. And you can see that the whole of their healthy thinking has become regime-like, and it's another stressor for them, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, it's language is so important, isn't it?
Yeah.
Change one or two words and you can change your life in a lot of respects.
And it is about how you experience absolutely everything you do, because I know that there are times when I just accept for my clients that they're eating relatively unhealthily, but the fact is that the results start to change because they genuinely feel better about themselves overall, and they start to accept themselves on a very different level. And then all of a sudden the eating the diet will fall into place. I don't know about you, but as soon as you start to enable people to think far better and change perspectives, lots of things start to actually improve with their health.
No doubt. I mean, in the mainstream media and stuff, they've talked about, like, it's been mentioned a lot over the years as emotional eating. Like, people say, "Oh, I'm a comfort eater. I'm an emotional eater." Well, okay, what is it? What is the emotion that's making you feel the need to go and zone out and just eat loads of food to make yourself feel better? What is it that's upsetting you? You know, people need to have a look inside themselves, really, and find out what is that emotion that's triggering them. And sometimes it's really hard for them to look inside, which is why, you know, experts are out there to help people to look at the tough things, you know, and what I call give them some tough love. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, you know, when there's a difficult subject to deal with, we naturally back away from it, don't we? As human beings, it's human nature. So sometimes we need somebody to stand behind us or stand next to us, put our arm around them, support them and guide them through it. So, yeah, it's very much like that, I think.
Wow. Now, Danny, if you were to give 3 pieces of key information that you would suggest people do most days or incorporate into life, what would it be from your perspective?
Well, okay, so hydrate yourself. Look at how much water you're drinking and start to increase it, because I know in most cases most people will not be drinking enough. And make sure you get some, at the very least, a water filter, you know, a Brita filter you can get for about 15 quid from most shops to take some of the impurities out of the water, because tap water in most parts is not that great, to put it mildly. Look at what you're eating. And I referred to earlier on about a lot of heavily processed white foods, the white flours, the white pastas, the white rices, the crisps, the biscuits, etc. Anything that's processed, naturally start to, first of all, increase good food, and then the bad foods will fall away. So focus on add in the good stuff, and the bad stuff will naturally fall away over time. Because I've found when people try and take away all the things that they know they instinctively probably shouldn't be eating, that instantly gives them that feeling of deprivation. I can't have this, I can't have this. When you're told you can't have something, what do you want to do? You want to have it, don't you? So focus on adding, and also find at least one way to decrease stress in your life, whether that be going out for a run, going for a walk, going dancing, sitting, meditating for 20 minutes, or whatever it is. Find a way to relax. Most people just aren't relaxing enough in life, and they would be 3 key things, I would say. There's many, but they would be 3.
Danny, how do people get in contact with you if they want to learn more about your programs and what you do, or want to even see you as a chiropractor? How do they find you?
Okay, what you need to do is go to www.dannyscahill.com/free audio. What that is, they're from a program I ran earlier on in the year called Total Health Transformation. It's an audio program. If you go to that URL I just mentioned, you'll get a free audio where I interviewed John Gabriel, one of the stars of Hungry for Change, a fantastic blockbuster health documentary earlier this year.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And this has been a really fascinating interview. Absolutely brilliant, to be honest. Really enjoyed talking to you, and hopefully we'll have you on soon in the future. You've also got a specific program out there with people like Daniel Vitalis on there, haven't you? Yeah.
That's the free audio there that I mentioned is one of those interviews. Yeah. And the signature program I run that I mentioned earlier on, Ultimate Performance Formula, if you'd like to have a chat with me about that, you can contact me through the website, dannyscahill.com, and click on the contact box, and we can organise a free consultation.
Brilliant. Danny Scahill, thank you very, very much for coming on Food for Thought. It has been really, really interesting to talk to you.
Thanks for having me, Deb. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks indeed.